At the end of World War II, when the Nazi leaders were being tried in Nuremberg, and they were in their prison cells awaiting trial, and a psychologist was given the job of interviewing these Nazi leaders in their prison cells, talking to them. And one of them wrote a book. He kept a diary, he kept notes, and he records in his book a conversation he had with Hermann Goering, second in command to Hitler, head of the Luftwaffe, and he asked, well, how come the German people went along with Hitler? And Goering said, well, of course, people don't want war. Some poor Slav, this was Goering's word, I don't know what the word is in German, but this is how they interpreted it, translated it. Some poor Slav working on a farm, he doesn't want to go to war, but he can be convinced, he can be propagandized, he can be told there's an enemy out there that must be defeated. He can be told that this is done for the country, this is done for the people, and then you can mobilize a population for war. And this is true, Goering said, in any country. That last part of it was interesting to me. It's not just totalitarian governments, it's not just tyrannical governments that propagandize their people for war. It's so-called democratic liberal governments. And of course that has happened in this country again and again and again, where people have been deceived, people have been lied to, and we're now aware of all the lies and deceptions that have been told in connection with this war in Iraq. But the history of government lies and deception in order to get the people of the country to go to war, that goes way back. I mean, how else can governments get people to go to war? It goes back to the Mexican War. It goes back to the war in Cuba. It goes back to the Philippines. It goes back through all the wars that we've fought. Deception, lies, and that's how they do it. So our job is to reach back to the essential feelings of people and to break through these fogs of propaganda and cries for war, these false slogans that are raised that talk about we're going to war for democracy, we're going to war for freedom. We now have a history which shows that all these so-called wars for freedom and democracy have not brought freedom and democracy to any of the people that we've waged war against. And they certainly haven't brought freedom and democracy to this country. And you will hear them say, Memorial Day is coming up, come to think of it. Memorial Day is coming up at the end of this month, and you have a lot of flag waving and a lot of trumpets blowing and a lot of speeches made honoring the dead of wars. And of course, yes, the people who died in wars should be honored, but war should not be honored. And the makers of war should not be honored, you see. And you will hear the speech makers say they gave their lives for their country. How many times have you heard that? They gave their lives for their country. There's a double lie in that. One, they did not give their lives were taken away from them, you see. You know. And second, they didn't die for their country, they died for their government. The country did not profit from their deaths. There were people, there were interests that profited from their deaths. In the present case, the young people who were dying in Iraq, thank you, the young people who are dying in Iraq, that's Marco, who's keeping me alive with regular doses of water and who knows what else. You see, but the young people who are dying in Iraq are not dying for the country. It's a terrible thing to say. The country is not benefiting from their debts. They're dying for Bush and Cheney. They're dying for Halliburton and the corporations that make money out of war. Wise men throughout history have recognized this. Plutarch recognized this. The poor go to war for the benefit of the rich. Eugene Debs recognized this. He was sent to prison for 10 years in World War I for saying it's the poor, the working class, who fight the wars, and it's the rich who send them to war.